We have a huge update on the Jack Eichel situation with the Buffalo Sabres. His agents are calling out the Sabres and want a resolution. We'll discuss the situation coming up next. So welcome back to another video here at Top Shelf Hockey. So on the ongoing Jack Eichel saga, it's taking yet another turn here. We now have a major statement released from Eichel's agent, basically calling out the Sabres here, looking for a resolution and getting a trade in place so they can move on from all of this. Obviously, we'll go through the statement here in just a moment. But as we know, Jack Eichel had requested a trade from the Sabres some time ago. This has been an ongoing issue that's been dragging out for a really long time. He needs a surgery on his neck, and it's considered somewhat of a controversial surgery, or a surgery that just doesn't have a lot of history behind it. There's been no other hockey players that have had this surgery done, and the Sabres have been very reluctant to give him the clearance to go ahead and do that. Considering he's under contract to them, they obviously have the right to do so. Now, of course, we've also heard lots of trade rumors. We've talked about it a lot on this channel because it's been one of the hot topics around the league for the past couple of months now, but a lot of teams that have been showing lots of interest in this player, and there's no shortage. We've talked about teams like the LA Kings, the Anaheim Ducks, the Minnesota Wild, the Rangers, the Vegas Golden Knights, to a degree the Calgary Flames, to a little bit of a degree the Montreal Canadiens, and a few others too. I mean, for the most part, they're the most common teams that we've talked about, showing the most amount of interest, the most seriousness in all of this situation here. But we know that they don't like the price that the Buffalo Sabres are asking. They've been kind of waiting around for the price to change a little bit, and it has not. So therefore, nothing has really come close to getting a deal done. Now, of course, leading up to the NHL draft, many thought the draft was a prime time for a culmination in all of this and for the Eichel situation to finally get a resolution, given the fact that there's likely going to be at least one first-round pick included in the package for him, possibly other draft picks as well. That'd be a prime opportunity going into the draft weekend for the Sabres, who are already picking first overall, to gain another high first-round pick. We know they liked Owen Power at number 1, but we're also hearing lots that they really liked William Eklund, and they could have had an opportunity to pull off a deal to get into the higher part of the draft, as well as a second pick to try to make that happen, but yet nothing. We went through the draft, we saw them make trades for other pieces of their roster that were wanting out as well, including Rasmus Ristolainen and Sam Reinhart. Those deals were done before the second day of the draft was over, and Jack Eichel still sits waiting for a resolution, waiting for somebody to come help get him out of the Buffalo Sabres organization. Now, of course, after the draft, we heard comments from Kevin Adams when he was asked about, obviously, these other trades that were made. We've heard other comments from Adams again when free agency got into the way, because all GMs were pretty much talking about, different signings and different things that the team has done. And when asked about the Eichel situation here in the last couple of days, Adams didn't have a lot to say that really made Eichel and his team very happy. He essentially said that they don't feel any pressure at all to get a deal done, that Jack Eichel's under contract. He said that he's okay if he returns in the fall and comes back and plays with them, and really didn't seem like he really cared to rush into anything, in that, it's not a big deal. We'll get a deal done when a deal gets done. If a deal doesn't get done, well, he can come to training camp. It didn't seem to be too cared, too worried, and that did not sit well with Jack Eichel and his team. As soon as we heard the comments, I thought myself, this is going to get ugly, and I'm sure that Eichel probably has his blood boiling listening to the general manager speak about the situation in this degree. So, of course, we finally get a response. I'm surprised it took this long, to be honest, but, of course, being that agents are, usually have a law background, and all that, they usually probably have calculated time here to make sure they put their statement together wisely. So I'm now going to read you the statement from Jack Eichel's agents in their response to the recent comments from the GM, Kevin Adams, and the fact that nothing has been accomplished so far. The statement reads, in response to the Sabres statement regarding being in control of the process, Jack Eichel under contract, and other comments, we offer the following response. The process is not working. As previously stated, we fully anticipated a trade by the start of the NHL free agency period, which obviously has not happened here. After the agreed upon and prescribed period for conservative rehabilitation lapsed in early June of 2021. It was determined by the Sabres medical staff that a surgical procedure was required. The recommendation by Jack's independent neurosurgeon, other spine specialist consultant, and a surgery Jack feels most comfortable having in order to correct a herniated disc in his neck is to proceed with artificial disc replacement surgery. A further point of concern is that our camp was under the impression that the Sabre specialist was in agreement with the artificial disc replacement surgery until that it was no longer the case. So you have to wonder, in that scenario, did Sabres ownership and management kind of, sway the doctor's opinion? I don't know, but obviously when the doctor appears to be in agreement with you, then suddenly they're not. It just sounds a little fishy and sounds a little like something's up there. So we'll see. Now, to finish the statement here, he went on to say that what is being left out of the discussion is that Jack would be able to play in the NHL for the start of the season pending medical clearance if he were allowed to have the surgery he desires even as of this date. So that just goes to show that the recovery time is not that bad for this surgery, and that if he were to have it even now, even though we're approaching August, that he would be fine to play for the beginning of the coming season. And obviously, they don't seem to be too concerned about that. Repeated requests have been made to the Sabres since early June to no avail. We're end of July now. We're talking about the better part of 2 months. This process is stopping Jack from playing in the NHL and is not working. Signed his agents Peter Fish and Peter Donatelli. Now, obviously, that's really not a good look for Buffalo. I understand the concerns for the surgery, but to be having almost 2 months with repeated communication requests that are not being returned? I mean, you hear Kevin Adams say there's constant communication, and it really doesn't seem to be the case. I mean, I understand that he's a new GM. I understand there's a lot of pressure on them to get this deal right, to make sure they get a good return. But at some point, something's got to give here. And I would imagine we're probably getting to the point that I would wonder if the player can do like a grievance to the PA, because clearly he's concerned that the team doesn't have his health and his medical situation as top priority for them, which it absolutely should be. So I don't know. This is getting really messy and getting really ugly. The fact that Kevin Adams said that he could have him come back to training camp in the fall, if anybody thinks this relationship is repairable, is totally crazy. That's not the case. This is definitely, no doubt, heading for divorce. Like I said, there's all kinds of teams that have interest in this player. I understand their reluctance to do a deal without getting a good return, but at this point, their leverage is slipping. To me, like, the more they look bad, the more that they're going to probably be likely to have to reduce this value a little bit, and they're going to have no choice but to find a way to get a deal done. Like, I know, like, listen to the reports that came out recently from Vegas, where it was rumored to be Riley Smith, Peyton Krebs, Nicholas Hague, and a first-round pick. I mean, that's a pretty decent haul. We know that the Rangers at one point were looking at, probably one of their young defensemen. I know that they weren't crazy about dealing Nils Lundqvist or Braden Schneider, but they'd probably include maybe a Zach Jones, maybe throw in like Filip Chytil and Alex Georgiev, something to that nature. Georgiev could be the goalie that they're looking for, because they certainly need goaltending help, that's for sure. First round pick in there. Maybe Vitaly Kravtsov. Like, they have lots of pieces there that could be included to have a good package. The Rangers can do that. Now, the LA Kings, who could also put together a phenomenal package, after signing Philip Deneau to that massive 6-year contract, I don't think they're really in the capacity to do that anymore. So I think we can safely say that LA is out of it. I know to a degree Vegas would have a really tough time doing it, but I think that the package that they're offering would be enticing to a degree, but they might have to add one more NHL roster contract going out. See, that's the problem here, is not only is the price high, the Sabres have been extremely reluctant to take on any other NHL contracts as part of this. They want all picks and prospects, which I understand. You want the future, but you're going to have no choice but to take money. Teams are not going to be able to do a deal without the cap offsetting, or you're going to have to retain on Jack. Either way, like, would you rather retain on Jack, or would you rather have other contracts that are maybe expiring in the next 1 or 2 years instead of like 5 or 6 years? To me, that makes more sense if you're Buffalo. So I don't know. Like, obviously, there's a lot of people that are concerned over the ownership, over how this team is being run, and it's getting very, very ugly. So hopefully, this statement kind of puts the pressure a little bit more on the Sabres to get something accomplished here. So I wonder if the league or the PA can look at a grievance here. I wonder if Jack is going down that road. Something has to give here, but this has become a very messy situation. I'd love to know your thoughts down below in the comments. Do you think the pressure here that the agents are trying to apply to the team will get anything accomplished? Will we see a deal sooner than later? Will the Sabres lower their asking price to get this problem resolved so that he can have his surgery, move on to a new team, and hopefully be ready to go next season? Now, of course, the team acquiring is going to have to agree to this, and we really don't know how other teams feel, but you would think that when what's been in the rumor mill for offers being made for Jack, that they would not be making these offers if they were not somewhat comfortable with the procedure he's looking to have and looking at the research and stuff. Because, I mean, we know that there's medical information available, but we don't know that the Sabres are really offered a whole lot to other teams. So we don't know how much they know about the situation either. So it's going to take some time. So they need to get the ball moving here instead of waiting, the last 6 to 8 weeks. They're not really talking to the agents and really, keeping their end of the bargain to find a solution to this trade request. So let me know your thoughts on this whole new update and messy situation here between Eichel and the Sabres down in the comments, and we'll discuss further. If you're new to the channel, make sure you subscribe and stick around. We'll keep you up to date with all the latest news and rumors in all 32 NHL teams. Thank you for watching, and I'll catch you next time.